My husband has a strong attachment and obsession to his sister, so-called sister complex. My sister-in-law and her husband have taken to barging into our home, treating it like their own, occupying our space as they please. They rummage through my personal belongings, using and taking them without permission. My husband, for this part, turns a blind eye, and this emboldens them to gradually escalate their behavior. I just cannot tolerate this anymore. From here on, I like to share my struggle until I decided to divorce. My name is Jessica, and I recently turned 28 and received a promotion at work. It may seem early for some, but I feel that my efforts have paid off, and I'm pretty satisfied. In my personal life, I'm a newlywed and was enjoying blissful everyday life with my recent married husband, Tom. I was recognized at work and was able to marry the man I love, so my life was somewhat satisfactory. One day, I was assigned to go on a business trip. As it was my first time, I was a little apprehensive, but I was also excited since it was an opportunity brought about by my promotion. After the promotion, I had been given more business trips, often day trips, probably in consideration of my newlywed status. But this time, I was assigned to go on a 3-day business trip. I communicated this to my husband.
"Oh, that's harsh on a newlywed, huh? Well, I'll call Sarah over,"
he said. Sarah is Tom's younger sister. She is married, but Tom still dotes on her in a way that's somewhat creepy. What do you mean? Why is Sarah coming over? I asked.
"Well, it would be tough for me alone, and Sarah's good at house chores. I thought if she helps out, we can manage while you're gone. So go on your business trip without worrying. Oh, and don't forget to bring back souvenirs."
No, you should be able to do some house chores too, I thought, but couldn't say it. Personally, I wanted to avoid having Sarah over at our house. She's a person without common sense who would come over frequently even after getting married and behave as if our home were her own. And she would suddenly appear without informing me, which would put me in a bind. However, it seems she's been communicating with Tom often. One day, Sarah and her husband showed up at our place unannounced. I was hoping at least Sarah's husband would be a sensible person, but my wish was not granted. Sarah's husband also lacks common sense, and both of them were incredibly selfish.
"Hey there, are you preparing dinner? I'm starving. Make sure to prepare my share too," he said.
What's more complicated is, Tom seems to dislike Sarah's husband. Apparently, he harbors some animosity towards him for marrying his beloved sister. Also, Sarah's husband seems to have a gambling problem, spending his weekdays after work and weekends from morning at the local casinos.
"What the hell, you're here too? I didn't invite you." "You're a bit cold to me, huh? Well, I don't care. I'm just here to eat for free,"
he responded in front of me. They think only about themselves. My husband keeps grinning at Sarah, which I find absolutely crazy. Moreover, it seems Tom lets Sarah into our house even when I'm not around. As soon as I come home, she'd be relaxing like it's her own home and say, "Hey Jessica, I'm hungry," as if it's a habit. Despite noticing my frustration, my sister-in-law Sarah often takes and uses my belongings without my permission. She uses my cosmetics freely, and when they run out, she says, "Hey sis, this one's all gone. Buy me a new one, will ya?" Who do you think you are, using my stuff and asking me to buy more? I can't possibly say. My husband, Tom, doesn't understand my complaint, saying, "She's just happy to have a sister now and wants to share things with you. Aren't you happy to have a sister too?" It's baffling, and he won't take my concerns seriously. With Sarah planning to come over while I'm on a business trip, who knows what she'll get up to? I've gotta find a way to stop this. I say, "Sarah, you're also married and must have housework to do. Could you manage without being here for 3 days? I'll prepare meals for those days." But Tom responds,
No, she's happy to come. Her husband is always out gambling. She's lonely. Are you jealous or something? We're very close siblings. We help each other in times of need. Just go on your business trip and don't worry." Inside, I'm screaming, "I'm not jealous, I just don't want Sarah in my house." But all I can say out loud is that so? Without another word, I go on my business trip. What will happen to my belongings? I'm afraid this house will be taken over. Returning home after my 3-day business trip filled with anxiety, I find Sarah lounging around. Despite promising to take care of the house, it's in disaster and daily necessities aren't replenished. "Welcome back, thanks for your help with everything. You can go home now," I say, trying to be polite but firm. Sarah says, "What? I'm staying over. We're having my favorite for dinner tonight." "What? What do you mean?" I ask. Sarah and I decided to order sushi tonight."
What? I was flabbergasted at my husband, who seemed so happy as he told me this. We always decide what to eat together on the day I return from business trips. Then I realized Tom hasn't contacted me at all during this trip. I tried to talk to Tom about this privately. Hey, I just got back from my business trip and I'm really tired. I want to relax without having to consider anyone else. You understand, right? But he just brushes me off.
It's fine, right? You two are like sisters.
I feel a surge of annoyance at his nonchalant response. Apparently, Sarah had been staying over for the entire 3 days while I was away. Despite this, the house is not cleaned and I wonder what she was doing all this time. In addition, when I go into my room, as expected, some of my cosmetics and even some accessories have gone missing. The expensive new toner I recently purchased, my absolute favorite, seems to be running out way too quickly considering I've been using it sparingly due to its high cost. Also, I noticed some of my accessories were missing. Angrily, I ask Sarah, "Sarah, did you use my stuff?" To which she casually replies, "Sorry, it was just perfect on me, so I used it, but I'm going to give it back, so don't worry." As sister-in-law responded randomly, I really got angry at her. But seeing that Sarah isn't going to engage, I decided to discuss this with Tom again.
Come on, enough already. She's just borrowing, it's fine. You're too narrow-minded. Why can't you trust my sister?
Nothing I say seems to make a difference. Exhausted, I couldn't accept this, but I fell asleep anyway. 3 weeks later, I get another business trip offer, and it's for a week this time. When I reported to my husband Tom, he was surprised.
A week? That's quite a long time. Well, I'll ask my sister to take care of the house again, so don't worry and go.
I actually wanted to talk about that. I don't want you to invite Sarah to our house anymore. Hearing this, Tom got angry.
Why not? She's our family.
The last time you said you asked Sarah for help with housework, but nothing was tidied up when I got back. Struck by this, Tom averted his eyes without a word. I think you know this too. Sarah always takes my personal items without permission. She says she's borrowing them but never returns them. At this point, Tom seemed to concede.
Alright, but I'd be in trouble if there's no one to do the laundry for a week, so I'll just have her come over for 1 day and send her home without letting her stay. Is that okay?
Well, why don't you do the laundry?
I've never done it before. I have no idea how to do it.
I'll teach you that much.
No, I'll just have her come for 1 day.
Tom stubbornly refused to do housework. Or maybe he just wanted to invite his sister. Tired of this, I finally said, "Alright, do as you please. But make sure she doesn't stay over." I stressed this point to Tom, but I didn't trust him at all. Sure enough, when I got home a week later, Sarah was there. She was lounging on her living room sofa as if it were her own, with no signs of having done any housework. Hey, what's all this about?
Well, there were more chores than I expected. I asked Sarah to stay over yesterday and today because it was too much for her.
I thought to myself I knew it. What do you mean? You promised it would be just 1 day.
Hey, don't be so scared. She's your sister-in-law. Besides, you're the one who leaves the house for business trips. You should be grateful she's helping out.
What? You understand what business trips mean, right? It's not like I'm going out to have fun. You always make up excuses like that. Without paying any attention to what I said, Tom continued.
And apparently Sarah is divorced. She also seems to have lost her job. There'll be times when you can't do the housework because of your business trips, right? She said she's okay with it, so I thought we could let her live with us.
What? What are you talking about? Why are you making decisions without consulting me? As I've said, you can do the housework. It's not every day. This isn't just your house.
Come on, we should help each other out in times of trouble. You must feel sorry for her too.
What are you thinking? Breaking our promise and deciding something like that on your own? I can't trust you.
How cruel to say such a thing to your husband. It's just for a while. Sarah also says she'll find a place to live and a job as soon as possible. We have an extra room anyway. Besides, Sarah has already given up her apartment. She doesn't want to live in the house she shared with that guy.
Incredibly, my sister-in-law Sarah had divorced and become single, and had started to say that she wanted to live with us. How dare you make decisions without consulting me? This is the last straw.
You're so inconsiderate. What do you think of this family, huh? If you're going to be like this, then do whatever you want.
I gripped my suitcase that I had just brought back from a business trip and immediately stormed out of the house. Leaving the house was the easy part, but with nowhere in mind, I wound up in an internet cafe. After a short break, I started to calm down. At that moment, my husband Tom contacted me.
Come on, Jess, you don't need to get this worked up. My sister is in trouble. I can't just ignore her. Now that you've cooled down a bit, think about it. She's offering to help with housework. It's not a bad deal, right?
Do you remember the promises we made? Plus, I can't trust your sister Sarah. To be frank, I can't stand her.
What the hell are you saying? If you're so against living with her, why don't you leave?
Is that really okay with you? Fine, I'll do it.
I don't mind at all, but don't come crying to me if you regret it. Tom hung up the phone angrily. After the call, I could feel my feelings for Tom rapidly cooling.
Enough! I've had enough of that man. He's caused me so much pain and now he's kicking me out, but I'll make sure he regrets it. After that, I devised a plan and began to gather the necessary supplies. And right after I initiated the operation, as expected, I received a call from Tom.
Jess, listen to me. This morning, out of nowhere, John showed up at our place.
It seems like Tom was panicking because his sentences were all over the place. Ah, your brother is here. John, my brother who is great at house chores, was deliberately invited by me to come to the house. I also talked to Tom's parents and had Sarah sent back to their place. Since Sarah has gone back to her parents' house, now it's just Tom and my brother in the house.
Tom was flustered and said, "This is so weird. Why did you call him over without my permission?"
I thought it might be tough without me, so I called him. John is good at housework, so I thought it might be helpful for you, Tom.
It's difficult for me when someone suddenly comes over and starts doing chores. I have to be on my best behavior in my own house.
Why? Sarah was doing the exact same thing to me.
At least you could have told me beforehand.
You would have refused if I did. Plus, I was never told beforehand when Sarah was coming over. Tom fell silent, looking guilty. How selfish can you be, expecting everything to be fine for you and not for me when I do the same? Having experienced the same thing he'd been doing to me, he seemed to finally realize his mistake and couldn't respond. But this was far from over. The real revenge was just starting. So that's the situation. You can ask John about the housework stuff. Bye! I hung up the phone before Tom could respond. He kept calling persistently, but I ignored all his calls. The next day, as planned, I asked my brother to help kickstart the second act of my revenge. As expected, my husband called right away.
"Jessica, I need your help."
His voice was on the brink of tears as he pleaded with me. What's wrong? Did something happen? I asked with faux innocence.
Wrong? Everything's wrong. Your brother's using my stuff without asking. From my suits to my bags, even the new accessories I just bought. I haven't even used them yet.
Well, you said it was okay for your sister to do the same, didn't you? Remember when I complained? You said, "She's your sister, lend it to her." Don't be so stingy. Really, your selfishness is astonishing.
That's...
He fell silent, unable to argue back. I've also reported this to your parents. I bet your sister is getting an earful from them right now. Well, she got what she deserved. The only consolation was that my in-laws were reasonable.
You dragged my parents into this, how dare you?
Well, you're the one who wouldn't listen to me. My husband was flustered, never imagining I would go as far as to involve his own parents. I'd even asked them not to contact him for a while, and they'd agreed. A few hours later, I returned home with my in-laws and sister-in-law. Upon entering, my husband immediately started complaining to me.
You're finally back. It's been tough because of you.
Instead of showing remorse, he directed his anger at me. Ignoring him, I gathered everyone in the living room and showed them a video. As soon as my husband and sister-in-law saw it, they were speechless.
What the hell is this?
Why? In the video, you could see both of them. It's not surprising they were shocked. The video was from a hidden camera I had installed before I left for my business trip. I had secretly recorded their misdeeds. In the video, you could see my sister-in-law rifling through my belongings and taking them without permission. Sorry, but I didn't trust you two, so I recorded this before my business trip.
You, what have you done? Are you doing this always? This is a crime.
My father-in-law exploded in rage after seeing the video.
Can't you even distinguish between right and wrong at your age? Shame on you.
Even my mother-in-law was fuming, her face turning red and on the brink of tears. And with that, my revenge ended. I thrust the divorce papers at my husband right there.
Hold on, are you telling me you want a divorce over this? Is this some kind of joke?
Do you think this is a joke? Do you realize how much this little thing, as you call it, has caused me distress? You never listen when I try to talk about it and always put Sarah first. Moreover, she never returned the things that she took from me without asking. I never gave her a permission. It's the same as theft. I could even sue her. Now, hurry up and sign. He was shaking, and my in-laws silently watched the situation unfold. Eventually, he signed, seeming to resign himself to the situation. Once I got the papers, I immediately started packing. Seeing me pack, my husband tried to stop me.
Wait, Jessica, if you leave, I won't be able to afford the rent for this place.
As Tom said, the apartment we're living in now is well located and rather pricey. He couldn't possibly afford it on his salary alone. The look on my in-laws' faces was pitiful as they observed their son, but I no longer had any sympathy for him, so I didn't care about that. I don't care anymore, you're a stranger to me now. Why don't you sort it out yourself? You've got your beloved sister after all. You two can find somewhere to live within your means. I left the house and went straight to submit the divorce papers. I moved into an apartment near my workplace. I had a barrage of calls and emails from my ex-husband, but they were a nuisance, so I blocked them all. I have no idea what he's doing or where he is now, and to be honest, I don't care. Freed from stress, I'm now enjoying my single life.